Hi guys, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at the TSPROF K-02 sharpening system. I really don't know if I can get all of this done in one video or not. I'm going to try to keep it less than 20 minutes. I might have to do a couple videos. We'll see. I've been using this thing for about 6 months now, so this is not one of those first impressions kinds of things and somebody all impressed and hyping over something that they barely used. No. I've used this a lot, and I've sharpened a lot of knives. I've gone through the coarse stone that I have for this. I've gone through the entire stone, used it up. That's how many knives I've sharpened. The coarse stone, of course, is the one that you use to get your profile cleaned up and made new, so that's the one that goes first anyways, but still. Just want to let you know, this is not just some guy spewing off saying, oh, how wonderful this thing is because it's so... No. I use this, and I use it a lot, and I use it hard. So let's get in first talking about the different features that we have, and then I'm going to show you how well it works. Spoiler, it works well. First thing about this system is this is a system where you put a stone on a rod, and that rod, well, let's put a stone on the rod. Here's a stone. You mount the knife on some clamps and you sharpen the stone. Very, very simple, very straightforward. One of the biggest benefits before you tune out is the pivot point for this rod is much further back. It's over a foot compared to most sharpening systems that use a similar kind of geometry for sharpening. And that means when you're sharpening way over here, like 6-8 inches away from the center, your angle is almost identical still. It's changed very, very little compared to knives, compared to sharpening systems where the pivot point, the mount point for the sliding rod is closer to the cutting edge that you're sharpening. And that makes a huge difference. That's no small thing at all. It means that I can sharpen something like this, and the edge is perfectly ground all the way across. The depth from the cutting edge down to where the grind ends on this depth from here to here, that little silver line that you can see, the depth of that edge is consistent all the way across. The angle didn't change so much that it rounds it off and cuts a really, shallow angle over here. There's another reason for that too, but if you believe that that's how it works, you can see on here that it really doesn't make any difference at all. It just sharpens evenly all the way across. Okay, let's talk about the next feature we've got here. Well, let's move this out of the way here. We've got this rotating holder with detents on it, and you can adjust those detents. So if you just got a nice small little knife, you can make that detent softer. And so when your knife is on there, let's mount one. Very easy to mount a knife. You just barely tighten the front two, and then you tighten the back here, and that levels out this clamp. So these two black arms are going to be in line with each other perfectly. Instead of being like this, they're going to be, or like that, they're going to be in line with one another so that the clamp is even all the way across. And then once that line is even with the even space between, that's holding the knife. And then now, I can flip the knife over and it holds it very well. I can flip it over this way very, very easily. And you just soften the detent when the knife is smaller, and you make it a harder detent when the knife is bigger. If you've got a larger knife than this, instead of something, this is just a standard folder that's about 3.5 inches. If you've got something a whole lot bigger, like this, how are you going to mount that? Well, you see how these wings are so long? You've got options. So there's that clamp, and we'll just take it off and set it aside. We've got 2 clamps that we can put on here. And because they're milled with such precision, they are even all the time. Now, I'm not showing you the whole setup process. There is a significant setup process to set this thing up so it's working just the way you want it the first time. And they've got a booklet showing you how to do it. It's not difficult, but it takes a little bit of time. You need something, well, this is the best way to do it. You need something, a digital level angle gauge is the best way to do it. There's other more manual ways to do it too, but that's one of the best ways to do it. You need one of these to help you set up the system properly. I also use that to check my angles of my grinding as well. So now I've got 2 clamps, all this distance apart, and I can take a big blade like this, and I can mount it in there. These clamps, I think, I'll have to double check it. I think it's a maximum of 4 millimeters that the gap opens up on these. And you tighten these down. And that's how you can sharpen something as big as this easily. Now, you can go a whole lot bigger than this because you can go way past here and still get a really good grind. So this is one of the smaller knives of the big fixed blades that you can do. This is Schrade's Fro. And you can grind. Now, from dead center to this, that's only like 15 degrees over. If that point, the pivot point where this meets, was a whole lot closer, that would be like 35 degrees already. And so there's a huge benefit, and I keep repeating it, to having this pivot point that far back. Now, you can change the angle that you're grinding at, and the way I like to do that, I double check that is, you see this flat spot here? It's designed to be a flat spot to measure off of. You take your angle gauge finder, and you set it at 0 on that angle, because that's flat. That's even with this flat here. Once you set it up correctly, and I've set mine up already, and then I can just go like this, and I can verify the exact angle that it's set up for this. And right now it's at 19 degrees. Of course, it changes if the knife is closer or further away, and it takes some time to get it settled down. Yeah, 19.2, and I can just adjust this arm here until I get it to that, there you go. Wow, that's 20.1. You adjust it till you get to the degree that you want to grind at. And since I'm moving this a lot, it keeps changing. And then you just lock it down using this brass wheel, and then you can go and sharpen. And it works very, very well. You've got other benefits here. You can adjust the length of your throw so that you don't over grind. So I've got this nut here that I loosen. And so what I do is I bring it right close to the edge so I can't pull this sharpening stone off of the blade, but it's going past, so then I got to shorten this up, and I do it on the far edge here, the furthest point away, and I tighten that down, and now I can't go over as well. So now the stone on the full sliding range will stay on the blade, and I can just, sharpen away. And it just works just fine. Now, contrary to the opinion of some, with a system like this, especially until you get to your last stone, you don't have to just grind one way, lifting it up and grinding again. You can just slide back and forth all you want to your heart's content. And you just go until you got an even grind all the way across. How do you check that? Well, you grab yourself a marker and you slide it across the grind, the final grind area, so it's all covered in black. And then when you're sharpening, you can see exactly where you've taken steel off and where you still need to take steel off. It works great. So that's the basic whole thing. Everything done in a nutshell. Why is it so good? Well, it is so good for a lot of reasons. This detent the performance of that thing there. This whole system, it's heavy, it's strong, it sits in place, it doesn't shake, rock and roll around. One of the biggest things is I can sharpen a knife with one hand. I don't have to hold something and, with two hands. I've got arthritis in my hands and it's slowly getting worse and worse. Sometimes one hand hurts more than another. And so I can just rest one hand and, sharpen away. And the other hand, just rest. And then when that one gets tired, I can go back and just do the other one and just keep working. Super, super easy. Changing stones is easy. You just pull back and you grab the next stone and you put it in and off you go. Now, TSPROF has got loads and loads of options and features. They've got a scissor sharpening attachment. They've got a whole variety of stones that you can buy. I bought a bunch of these stones. They've got aluminum blanks and they got plexiglass blanks that you can use to mount your own stones onto, or stones that you buy. Well, they've got these little stones, very narrow ones, precision ones, boride. They're actually made in the United States, but you can buy them from TSPROF. And what I did was I took the aluminum ones and I took a hacksaw and I cut straight down. They warped a little bit, so I straightened them out. And so I got small ones and I just used some epoxy to epoxy them on. And then now I can just take this off. And this is the narrow one. They've got the one that comes with the unit is a little bit wider. This is the narrow holder, and you just put it in the holder. And now I've got something narrow, and that works really great for doing recurves. So I just sharpened this knife the other day, and that's not a dramatic recurve, but it's a small one, and it sharpened just great using these narrow stones. I've done much, much more where the radius of the recurve is much greater. I've sharpened those with these stones. It just works, and it works great. It holds tight. Everything's made to precision. You can buy all these different options that you want. If you're looking at this system and you really like it, but you just can't afford it, and you want to get it as soon as you possibly can, you can save money by not buying this base. The base is heavy and it adds to the shipping cost. You can see these 2 points here. That's where that mounts onto the base. Well, you could just get a thick chunk of wood from wherever you are and screw this small base onto your own big base. And that would save you some money. And it's just a system that is made with supreme precision. And that's what you don't get on a lot of other machines. Now, it comes at a cost, just like everything else in life. Good things cost a little bit more than things that aren't that good. And I found this thing to be awesome. You've got to do a couple little things to keep everything running well. These are whetstones, so I always, soak them in a bucket of water before I use them. And between each grind, I rinse them off. I hate getting phone calls while I'm working on these things because I totally lose my train of thought where I was because I don't have a long set of notes that I'm using. Precision made, I think I was talking about. Everything's precision made. Brass locking wheels, well designed. You can change your angle tremendously. You can do big gross changes by moving this whole beam and locking it down. And then you do your precision changes using this wheel, and then you lock that down, and then it locks steady and tight. It doesn't wobble around. It doesn't wave around and move. You put some light oil on this arm and into this the black holder, and that's long enough. It's almost 2 inches long to give it a lot of stability. One thing that I don't use is this. And that's because every time I moved this main rod, that angle would get turned. It wouldn't be right. It would be wrong. So what I always use is this to verify the angle. So once I've got everything clamped down, I zero this, and then I just double check exactly what the angle is. And so I don't use this part here. If you have any questions for me, email me at canadiancuttingedge@gmail.com or leave it in the comments below. Contact TSPROF with the email that I'll provide in the description below. Just click on where it says show more if you're watching this on a computer. If you're watching this on a cell phone, then just below the video, if you've got it minimized, there's on the right-hand side at the very bottom, just right down there, there's a tiny little triangle that's pointing down that's black. You click on that and that'll extend the text so you can see the comment section. And down there, I've got links so that you can find all these things and look it up and do your research. I really like the TSPROF, and I'm going to be using it for many, many, many years to come because it's excellent. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that other good stuff. And remember, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.